Hello and welcome to Wyverns and Weirdos, a D&D podcast set in the world of Fierlor. Before we get started this week, does anyone have any plugs quickly for the beginning of August? No?
You're fantastic. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening. As always, if you want to support the show, we have the Redbubble, we have the Patreon, or you can simply share the podcast. If you go to the Patreon, you get extra bonus stuff. If you go to the Redbubble, there's merch. But even just sharing the podcast around gets us in more ears, and we can continue to make such fun D&D content and maybe more in future for all of you folks. So, without any further ado, let's jump into another episode of Wyverns and Weirdos. And we're back. So, where we last left off, the party dealt with the aftermath of the attack on the ball, and that involved a lot of things, including Newman playing wingman, Caius bringing his Pegasus mounts to Bertie's mansion, and Rook and Anya chilling for the most part. So where we stopped, we were just about to go into the deep, well, not deep, but the big conversation within the group. However, I believe, backtracking just a moment or two, I believe Rook and Anya were on their way into the parlor.
Ross and Anya,
sorry. Wrong names. Damn ours.
Well, what does the parlor look like?
So I forgot to mention the parlor earlier on. I listened back and realized I didn't mention it. So Bertie's parlor is very similar to the rest of his house so far. So the pink and white Rococo style, very obnoxious frilly curtains. There's a few purple velvet sofas and matching chairs around, and tables with vases of flowers. Including the couch and chairs that Ross and Sam were making out on last episode. And now that Sam is very uncomfortably sitting on one of the chairs, I will also probably note, for hindsight comedy's sake, most likely when those two really quickly went to sit on opposite ends of the room, probably Sam would have sat down like a closed, but like some hip flask or something like that, just for the extra discomfort. But anyway, there's lots of like little Bertie-esque knickknacks everywhere, but I guess most notably there's like a big mantelpiece over like a very safely laid out arcane fire, which is blazing. And above like the mantelpiece, there's like a couple of like paintings. There's like one that looks really professionally painted, of Bertie, who looks very like nervous, but like it's obviously like his first portrait little painting. And there's a few like other little paintings or drawings which don't seem anywhere near as professional, or perhaps by a less professional artist, but they're just as lovingly framed. And some that you assume are probably Bertie's drawings as well. And there's, also of note, sort of like to the side of the big mantelpiece, but like you can see it from anywhere you're in the room, is a really, really big fish tank. But in the fish tank, there are no fish. It's got like heaps of just like water plants in there and stuff like that, and like some little arcane lights probably lighting it up. but there is a little sea dragon in there. If anyone was like looking at that awkwardly while Anya and Ross had popped out for a moment, and the sea dragon is like pink and purple. It's just kind of just floating around there because it's a sea dragon. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Thank you, Rook. I also presume, actually, talking of descriptions, I believe, what's Rook wearing?
Yeah, so Rook has gone and raided through Bertie's clothing, and she's currently wearing like this fancy vest that's obviously like hasn't been finished, like the sewing and everything. And it probably has like a little C embroidered at the back of it, and some matching pants. And underneath the vest, she has like this loose shirt on that may be recognizable as once having belonged to a certain guard that gave it to Bertie once. That's what she's wearing.
Weirdly enough, has some Karasi embroidery on it and everything. My goodness. Cool. So I guess the second that Rook has walked in, like and Bertie looks at her, he kind of like just starts for a moment. His eyes go very big and he looks very intense as he looks what she's wearing. And he looks to Anya, probably at the same moment that Anya's like, hey, Ross, let's go out and have a talk. And then luckily, then Bertie notices that Sam has got sort of faint lipstick smears on him. So then that takes up all of his attention. But he does kind of keep looking over at Rook that this time like, but he's not going to say anything, just as a sidebar.
Rook is also looking very curiously at Sam and Ross, and then after a moment her eyes are like gonna flash briefly with light, and then the realization hits her. And she looks over at Anya, and forgetting that this is open channel, she's going to talk into her earring and say, hey, I think that Sam and Ross kissed.
So Ross and Anya probably just got back from the kitchen when that happened. And Ross, her eyes just go so wide, and she just looks at Rook and immediately gets on the earrings and just goes, shut up. Oh my God.
If Newman is in the room as well, he's just like nodding his head like...
Very, very energetic nod from Newman there.
Anya pats Rivari's shoulder in like sympathy, but she is like chuckling a little bit to herself. And she taps the earring and just responds with I mean, I can't see and I could tell that one, so
Shut up. Oh my God. Oh God.
I will also say Bertie probably like bark laughs, just like one like the second that Rook says that in the earphones, which would look really weird. Then it's like,
Sam,
and like tries to cover up his face.
Sam gives you a weird look because he has no idea what's going on. He's just seeing reactions to something.
Yeah, and then Bertie kind of just like again tries to make the weird faces at Kai. It's like, do you understand now?
Guys just gets really confused. Like, what?
Incredible. Fun
Anya
vibes.
sits herself down on the arm of one of the chairs.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that in everyone's heads, but we were all thinking it for a second.
Senestaka, what have I done to deserve this? Ross is gonna like put her face in her hands out of mortification. And probably lipstick has a certain quality to it, and she realizes she can feel some of it like not on her lips. And all you hear in the earrings is just as she casts prestidigitation on her whole face to clean it. So when she looks up, she has no makeup on and just looks squeaky clean.
Anya casts message as a cantrip to Ross, and she's just like, yes, now you're clean. That isn't going to help him though.
Anya, I love you so much. Never speak to me again. Then she's just gonna walk over to wherever Bertie is.
Anya shrugs, but she's smiling.
I guess the second that Ross starts to walk over to where Bertie is, Bertie's like again like kind of still doing like weird like nudges onto Caius. He sees like Ross approach him, and then because I think Caius has got his teacup, I think Bertie took his as well. And Bertie kind of just like his like fingers kind of like tense a lot more around the teacup that he's holding, and he like stops holding Caius's hand and then kind of like looks a lot more serious the second that Ross approaches him. Yep.
Now?
Yeah, no. Okay. And Bertie will put the teacup over to like the nearest little table.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, if you want to. You're better with this kind of stuff.
We'll see. And Ross is gonna kind of... Caius is right there for the whole thing. This is not a private conversation, but Ross is gonna kind of face the whole group. And she's going to say, before I begin, I need all of you to understand that every decision we made thinking it was the best we could do. Ten months ago, Bertie and I contacted Sam via dream. Ross is also, just briefly, she's standing very, very straight. For Anya, Anya can't see, but Anya would get the vibe that this is like when Ross was giving her report to Drakar. So Ross is very straight, her hands are kind of by her sides, and she's looking out to the horizon, not at anyone in particular.
As weird as this probably sounds, Anya can probably tell by the tone of Ross's voice, not so much from like the tone that she's projecting, but you know, when you sit up in different ways, it'll project your voice in a different way.
Yeah.
And this is something that isn't common for Ross.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be how she could tell.
There's also the factor of like it's like the acoustics of it would change in a very slight sense because her voice would be coming from probably a slightly higher
That's just a
place
smart
in the
way
room.
of saying exactly
Yeah.
what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Ross is like, 10 months ago, I asked Bertie to help me contact Sam via dream to learn more about what the Wizards of the Ruins were doing, since it has been near impossible to contact Drakar since he has been hiding in the astral plane. And since after his supposed death, the Concord in Bapsashad has been focusing on information coming out of New Arcadia. It has been near impossible to get information, so we contacted Sam. Sam told us, her voice does shake when she says this, that the Wizards of the Ruins view Karas as a one continent. They view it as a foregone conclusion, since the murder of Drakar, that the Resistance puts up no real threat to them, and that they are willing to wait out the next few generations until they can fully subjugate. They view Karas as done and won. And they have set their eyes on Erithald. So we knew 10 months ago that the wizards were planning to do something to try and conquer Erithald. That was the only information we had. We didn't know what that next step would look like. We did not know what measures they would take. We had no way to stop them, especially with the Concord refocusing its efforts elsewhere and still scrambling to rebuild after the death of Jakar. The only source we had was someone who, at the time, we felt couldn't reveal. We were checking in every few months to see whether or not the Wizards of the Ruins had made any steps, what kind of information they were giving out to the people in their charge. Nothing was changing. Clearly, we were dealing with a source the Wizards no longer trusted. The information was incomplete, but we didn't know that at the time. We didn't tell any of you because we knew you would want to take immediate action. And there was nothing to be done. We wanted to take immediate action too, but the reality is, if you don't know what the next step is going to be, you cannot prevent it. We would have been throwing ourselves into a losing situation, or worse, making it worse for the people of Erithald and Karas by potentially setting off an all-out war. For the sake of information who no one would believe us on. We couldn't risk that. It was a surefire way to end up dead. We didn't make this choice lightly, and maybe based on tonight, we should have made a different choice. But we made the decision we thought was best, and now we have to deal with that. But we also now know that the wizards are willing to make public that this is their next step. There is certainly information we can glean from this. If they are willing to make such public displays of power, maybe there are other ways in which they are slipping, and we can actually move forward to prevent that next step. We can at least find where they're focusing their energy. That is something we can work with, but that's what we wanted, what we've been hiding.
And Bertie will try to hold Ross's hand, I guess. And he'll be like, "Cool. So, yeah, what Ross said is basically everything we can tell you. As she said, until tonight, we didn't feel comfortable telling people information that's an undercover deep spy was telling us. There wasn't even much information we could do much from. And as Russ said, perhaps we made the wrong choice, considering he was obviously being told nothing. So we've talked about this a lot, and we both understand what this might mean to all of you. But after tonight, we've had to tell you all, I guess, that we've known. So I think we should all talk about this. If you're mad, that's fine. If you're not, that's good too. We just need to talk about it as a group.
That's definitely a lot to take in. How has this been affecting you two? Especially seeing it all happen, knowing there was a real reason behind it.
Ross has been squeezing Bertie's hand for dear life since he offered it. And she just looks at him and she goes, "It's been rough."
Yep. That could be a word for it.
Yeah, all right. This really took a 360. Look, I understand there was probably nothing we could have done, and I understand how flaky and unreliable that information might have been. But goddammit, please tell me things. I know it's a reoccurring thing, and everyone's become a lot better with it. But I am capable of making my own decisions as well. And I guess I could have been, at the very least, a little bit more prepared for what we just experienced. And I don't believe I was the only one who was unprepared. That's because I was there for a night of fun and I didn't know there was the hint of that sort of action taking place. And I'm not angry. And this is all like, in hindsight, we could have done this, we could have done that, which I'm not very much a big fan of. I personally just want to know what we can do from here and whether or not we have Erithald behind our backs now, helping us out, because with such a display of power like that, that's surely to turn some heads. And as we saw at the ball, is some of them didn't even know this is the sort of people these wizards are. So surely, hopefully, we could rally some to the cause and do something with this. I'm not talking about all-out war. Maybe. But knowing Erithald, probably not. That's me. That's my thoughts on it.
Anya, through all of Newman talking, she's been quiet and she's been really still as well, hasn't really shown any, pretty much from the entire start of the conversation till now, she hasn't shown any physical change. Even like before Ross started speaking, nothing changed. Stance in anything. She was just sitting there listening and taking it all in. And then she opens her mouth and she goes to speak and then stops for a moment as if she's thinking really hard on how she wants to phrase what comes next. And then she's like, there are two things I would like to say to you both. The first is I have probably spent the most time with the two of you since, well, everything that happened a year ago. And I have learned a lot about you both, and you've both learned a lot about me. Thank you for giving me the time to breathe. I know that I would not have taken it well. Not so much in that I would have been upset that it was happening, but more so I would not have felt I could relax. As soon as I found out, and even now, I would know it is time for action. So thank you for waiting until the time was right. That being said, the Wizards of the Ruins are an organization that craves power and craves chaos and craves destruction. There was never a moment in my mind that thought that they would stop at Karas. And as awful as this is, I did not think that Karas would feed their hunger for much longer. So, if you both should have told me earlier, I should have already been prepared.
Bertie will briefly nod and then just kind of like, yeah. Thanks. You get it. Thank you. Everyone so far, it's good.
Ross doesn't actually acknowledge, like, she nods along to, like, when people say things. She's nodding, but she's not looking at anyone. She's still just talking about Karas. Bertie would have felt her hands start to shake.
Okay. I guess Rook's gonna lean forward and say, I gotta say I was disappointed when I heard that you've got information that you've been keeping from me, especially since, Ross, that I've been meeting up with you specifically to talk about information. I do understand your reasoning, though, I've gotta say. I think maybe the kind of person that I was 10 months ago, I can see how you would have thought I would have behaved recklessly about that. I don't think I'm gonna be throwing myself into any wars. Not anymore. I've been playing a slow game for a while, but I think that helps me to understand where you're coming from. I guess you gotta protect your contacts. And a lot of the time, there really isn't anything you can do about a situation. But I guess thanks for telling us now. It's not all that surprising, but it is good to hear concretely that some form of what plan they've got going on. That is good to know. Thank you. And yeah, she'll lean back again.
Anya just silently takes Rook's hand and squeezes it.
Rook will squeeze back.
So Caius has sort of been sitting back in his chair. He's had his arms crossed and just sort of watching everyone talk. And he's going to lean forward after a brief pause and go, so, what do we do now?
Well, I told the Lords of the Seven and the Convocation that we would speak with them tomorrow regarding whatever they would like to do in regards to the terrorist coup that occurred this evening. Beyond that, and she does look at Bertie briefly and then actually looks at Caius. Beyond that, I was intending to go back to Karas. Corral what information I can, and go to New Arcadia. I was hoping all of you would come with me, but it is not a war I am expecting to survive, so I can understand if, even after everything you all have just said, which has been very kind and very much not what I was anticipating the reaction would be, if people would like to sit that out. We earned our peace.
Bertie, you
I would
hear
hate to disrupt it.
you hear a voice in your head, the voice of Sam saying, "If you have the means, I believe it is now time."
No.
Do you say that mentally or?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he has message,
Yeah,
yes.
he's using message.
Yeah, I think Bertie does too.
If you have the means, then if you have the resources, then it is probably as good a time as any.
Okay. Just one more question, Sam, while Ross is saying this. I just need to know again. You do have Rivari's best interests at heart, right?
I do.
Okay. And then, like, Bertie would have gone, like, quite tense while Ross has been talking, she's still holding his hand. But he will kind of, like, step away a bit and be like, okay, cool. Excellent. One more thing, then. Cool. Well... And, like, Bertie just, like, kind of, like, glares at Sam. From her, is like, cool. Well, first of all, thank you to everyone for your thoughts, and I definitely understand the ways you're all feeling. As Russ said, we didn't want people to have to jump straight into action, but, from my point of view, too, as Anya said, I guess, we also didn't want people to be worrying. We were meant to be resting. This happened 2 months after Zoltan Dathara went gone. And that's not been what I've been able to do now. So I didn't want that to happen to anyone else. Okay, but on top of that, Sam, actually, I'm gonna have to do something now. Sam, would you like to say why I haven't been able to do this until now?
So, when Ross and I were speaking after the combat with Zath, there was a brief exchange of information that Ross could not retain for her own protection. We discussed it beforehand and decided that it would be better to lock it away for when the time is right than to have to explain it all when it was needed. Especially when so many things were a risk. If Drakkar or I got caught out before it came into play. And so, with your permission, I locked those memories of this brief moment away from you.
What?
Sam contacted me after the dream 10 months ago and told me that there was something was in your brain that couldn't be found out early, or we'd both be in trouble. Isn't that great? Luckily, nothing's happened to cause that to happen early. Had to be super careful with that. Had to also trust that guy, but, considering circumstances, I guess, okay. And Bertie kind of like reaches into like one of his pocket and he pulls out a scroll and he's like, I figured out what the spell was. couldn't contact Sam very much over the 10 months. But he's here now, I guess, so that's cool. You've got something hidden away in your memories, and I've got a way to get it out again. So I guess it's happening now. If you want it. Ross?
There is something very complicated happening on her face right now. And she doesn't look away from Bertie. And then it's less that she's looking at Bertie and more that she's not looking at Sam. And then she says, "Certainly.
Okay.
Do it."
Hold on. What exactly? I didn't quite understand what was going on there. Has someone been tampering with Ross's mind? Was Sam involved in this?
Bass is also leaning forward.
Bertie kind of like looks
Anya-
uncomfortable but glares at Sam.
Anya also, as Sam was speaking and as Sam continued to speak, tensed up, and only Rook would have been able to see it. But she has in the free hand of hers, she has like pulled one of her daggers. She's not like holding it threateningly, but she's just preparing herself. And she, yeah.
Yeah, Rook was very much stressed out hearing this.
Consensually, apparently.
Oh, apparently.
Well,
Why exactly do you have that power to begin with, Sam?
How do you think
Why would you do that to anyone?
How do you think I survived as long as I did in New Arcadia?
By messing with people's heads and screwing with their memories by the sound of it.
It's not something I am proud of, but it's much better than the alternative.
Oh, boo-hoo, you feel bad about violating people's heads.
And you thought it appropriate, given everything you know and everything you were hiding, for the events that happened tonight. You thought that it was at all okay, whether you had her permission beforehand or not, to kiss her when she was missing a part of herself and you knew about it.
How can she know how many of her memories are real?
it's fine. It's fine, everyone. It's
Are
part of the job.
Hubert
Are
is
we
going to
with-
scooch across the room next to Ross now and sort of just stand there. He's not going to say anything, but he'll give sort of like a supportive, endearing look. Supportive. Because he knows of Sam and how he got to his position. He did not know that he did this to Ross, though. So he's just going to stand next to Ross.
Anya turns away from Sam and she sort of turns her attention to Bertie and to Ross, and she's like, Ravari, I'm really sorry, and if you want me here for this, you can, but Bertie, do Rook and I need to be here for this? And she squeezes Rook's hand and she's like, I don't think it would be, this is already too close. I don't think it would.
Yeah, no one has to. I don't know unless that's what you want, Sam. This has been the information that's been all that I've heard. So I'm sure it'll be fine. You guys can step out for a moment. I'm sorry we've had to do this at all.
I apologize for the situation that
Shut
I have.
up. I don't want to hear from you. Rook, do you want to go or stay? It's your
Alright, I'll step out. But if you've harmed my friend in any way by the time I get back, you'll have more than a black eye to worry about, alright?
I don't doubt it.
Great. Okay.
Anya leads Rook probably outside to get some air.
Caius does look over at Rook, give Rook a bit of a nod, and then is just going to rest his hand on the hilt of his blade
Yeah.
as a comfort thing.
To sort of add to that, Anya sends a message to Caius, and she's like, I trust you to be able to protect, because I know you're good at that. Please keep an eye on them for me.
I'll be here.
Cool. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, when this whole time Ross is just shaking a little bit, and she watches Rook and Anya leave, and then she's just gonna go back to staring at the horizon, and she's just gonna say, whenever you're ready, Bertie.
Okay, cool. Betty looks at Newman, who's scooted close to Ross, and then he'd be like, Newman, did you wanna stand up next to me? Could you just keep an eye on Ross? I've never done this to someone before with this spell.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
Here to help in any way.
And Bertie kind of like the hand that was holding Ross's, he like gives to Newman. And then he kind of like he's got a little scroll. He's like looks over that for a moment. He looks over at Caius and he asks him in Elvish, which was probably a combination of like their attempts at broken Elvish. He says, are you okay watching this?
I would prefer to.
And then he kind of like he does also then say keep an eye on, and then like he's tries to catch Caius's gaze. I don't know if Caius is glazed over, but he will attempt to. But he'll say keep an eye on in Elvish, and then look at Sam quickly, and then turn back to Ross.
Ross and Newman understand every word of that.
That's fine. That's cool.
Sorry, Bertie.
But it's alright. Sam probably knows Elvish too. It's cool.
I hope he does, because I'm staring daggers at him.
Incredible. And Bertie turns to Ross, looks apologetic at her and casts, I think it's Greater Restoration, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
Greater Restoration or Remove Curse will lift
One
this
of
spell.
them. He would have picked up one of them. So it's a scroll, so he would like read out the incantation for that, do the gestures that are on the scroll, and then the scroll will kind of like burst.
No.
And remove whatever
Yeah.
Sam has done to her.
Now I do need to double check whether or not Greater Restoration, what spell lists it is on.
Eric, I believe.
Because that may require a... no. It is on the cleric, but it's... As it is... Yeah. I do technically require a charisma check from you for that.
A charisma check from
Yes.
little old me? Okay. It's natural 1. No, it's a 17, so a 29.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So the spell goes off, and Ross, the memories come flooding back. So the memory that is unearthed is of... So initially, you have that... you recall the discussion with Sam about how Drakkar wants to reach out but is concerned of your well-being if you hold this knowledge, and the suggestion of locking the memory away for use. And once that is organized, Sam produces a strange glass that enables you to communicate with Drakkar in the astral plane, where he details his plans to stay within the astral plane until the time is right, as well as the fact that they are hoping that the wizards will consider Karas to be basically a done deal, as that will they take it, cause the wizards to let their guard down and possibly divert their resources. Additionally, he briefs you on the dangers of the warding wilds, warning you of the magical beasts and wild magic that made the area a hitherto insurmountable obstacle for the Wizards of the Ruins. And that basically until the finishing of the teleportation circles with Karthos's tower and other places, and then the eventual repairs, they weren't able to do much. But post repairs and with other redundant circles, they're pushing their efforts on the peninsula. Finally, of course, the reason why all this had to be locked away, on top of the fact that knowing this information would put you at a particular risk, and the measured decision was made because you, or at least some of your allies, would be likely to try to act before strategically practical. Additionally, they suspect that you are being watched, and keeping this knowledge from you would aid in the facade while also enabling you to be immediately informed of everything when required. Would there have been any questions that you would have had for Drakkar in that span of time?
Oh god.
You would not have had long.
No, because all this has to take place in 10 minutes or less for modify memory to work. She would have asked if there was anything he would come back from the astral plane for. And she would have asked if the party did make a move on the wizards in New Arcadia, would the Concord be on their side? Would the Concord send people with them, or or are the Concord kind of treating them as freelance intel?
So the Concord can organize for people to go with you. if you would so desire. And he imparts with you a sigil sequence that will enable him to return in a place of your in a location that you are able to set down. And he says, when you and your allies reach New Arcadia, send for me.
Okay. Let me just finish writing that down. Yeah, that's all Ross would have asked, knowing they were on such a short time frame. God, that happened back at the Zath fight. Oh my god.
And the last thing of that memory you notice, you note the tear coming from Sam's eye, and he wipes it away as he locks the memory away from you.
Oh, cool. Thanks. So Ross has used Greater Restoration on Newman before. So Newman would probably, even if Bertie didn't do, because magic can be different. So like, even if he didn't recognize the specific words and hand movements Bertie was using, because Newman was possessed at the time, Newman would probably know what feeling Ross is having right now, which I imagine is, it's almost like there's this like in her chest that kind of like fans out up the base of her skull and just clears away the kind of magical cobwebs, and she just blinks, and every time she blinks it flicks between her real red eyes and her fake yellow and red ones, and it just like changes every time she blinks, and then she shakes her head and she flexes her hands a little bit. And she's silent. And then she looks at Sam, really looks at Sam, and says, noted. Thank you for the mission update. And then she turns around and leaves. She walks out. Not Bertie's house, but she like
Yeah.
no, she like just I imagine she has stayed at Bertie's house a couple of times previously, so she just walks until she reaches the room she normally stays in, and people would be able to hear a door slam shut.
Cool.
Okay.
You're not very good at making friends.
No.
My god. Bertie will just kind of like be wringing his hands after that, after Ross has like run off, and like keeps like looking from her to like Newman, to Caius, to Sam, and then back again. Like, cool. So, what was the information, Sam, that you gave Ross?
If it's okay for you to share and not something that Ross wouldn't tell us.
Oh, yeah, no, true. Yes.
It is a rundown of the warding wilds that will have to be traversed to get to New Arcadia. Using the teleportation circles will be too much of a risk. They're too heavily guarded. Additionally, she was informed of Drakar's plans and intentions.
Cool. Yep. Because she didn't hear much from him all year, which is not great for her.
And she was told how to return him to the material plane, as well as as well as confirmation that manpower and resources will be allocated to the mission.
Cool. Cool. All right. Awesome. Well. Great. Cool.
And Ross definitely agreed to having this happen to her.
Yes.
All right. We should probably give them some space right now. Is there anything we need to do right now?
Well, I mean, I've always accepted we'll have to go back to Karas. That's what you and Russ wanted to do to begin with anyway, and I said, I'll help if you want me to. So...
I
it
very
sounds like-
much would like my armor right now.
Yeah, no. Cool. Yeah, we should, I don't know what we should do. Well, yes. Can I help with that? Or, yeah, that's back in Karas, right?
I think I'll wait till Ross is...
Yeah, no.
I'll wait till Ross comes back before we go back, I think.
Yes, no, that's good. Okay, cool. We should, see how Rook and Anya are going. I know Russ probably wants to be left alone a bit, but I think if no one else does, I'll go and check on her, because, I know sometimes people like that, too. Yeah, we should, think about where to move from here. Yes. If we do, obviously not everyone has to do anything. But I think the time to act is pretty close by now, so we'll do that. And I'm sure if you have any information for us, Sam, we can all talk about that. Do you want to go and check in on Rook and Anya Newman, or do you want to check in on Ross? Or do you just need do you need to chill for a bit? I'm sorry, I
I'm
apologize.
fine.
This has been
I'm
a lot.
just worried about Ross.
Yeah,
How about you and Caius, if you'd like, go check on everyone else.
Okay.
And Sam, I'm not sure if you want to wait here. We'll go with them. But I'll go find out where Ross went, at the very least, and then I'll find out what to do from there.
Yeah, probably. Unless she went to the bathroom, I wouldn't judge her. Probably, I have a room that she usually stays in when she stays here in dorms, every now and then. So, it'll be, if you go up the stairs, second floor, and then, kind of go down, take the hard left, and then about 3 rooms down.
Right.
If the door is closed, that's probably where she is.
I forgot how big this house was.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit too big.
I'll find them.
Cool. Thank you.
So yeah, Newman will skedaddle out of the room. However, he will look for I don't know, is there any like paper or pencils or like very, very specific, but chopsticks or incense sticks anywhere, like reed diffusers, that sort of stuff?
Absolutely.
That-
Of course.
What would you
It's
find
Bertie's house.
first? What would you find? Paper and pencil, ideally, but
Paper and pencil, like they'll be them on like one of the tables in the parlor.
done.
There'll be
he
like
takes
reed diffusers
some of
everywhere,
those
yeah.
with him.
Easy. Alright. Perfect. And Bertie looks at Caius. What is Caius doing?
Caius is just sort of looking around, and as Newman sort of starts to leave, Bertie, if you wanted to go and check on Rook and Anya, I'll stay here and have a chat with Sam.
Yeah. No. Good. And Bertie will kind of like walk past him and kind of like just pat him on the shoulder a little bit. And then kind of just look apologetic at Caius. And then just kind of like glare at Sam, and then he will stride out to go and find Rook and Anya.
Rook and Anya, where would you have made your way to?
So Anya would have led Rook out to, I guess, out the back pass through the gardens. Is there, Laurie, you're probably more of an expert here. Is there like maybe a little sub garden or something somewhere a bit floral or just peaceful?
Absolutely. Oh yes,
I can
absolutely.
imagine there would be, but I don't want to.
There'll be like a little faux like pond as well, I imagine. So it's like yeah, it's all kind of like shaped around with lots of different flowers, and there's like a little pond with like little lilies and stuff all through it. Looks quite beautiful in the moonlight.
Perfect. Anya would probably take Rook and sit her down just somewhere near there, and she turns to Rook and she's like, Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. I guess, yeah, That's a bit of news to get. Well, I suppose he was working with the wizards the whole time, so I guess that kind of stuff just rubs off on you.
It shouldn't, though.
I mean, no, yeah, that would be the ideal world. People wouldn't take their friends and families, like, autonomy and everything from them. I can't believe doing that. Gods, do you think Ross has had to live like that for a whole year? Damn, I didn't even know. So I wonder if she knew anything. If she had any gaps in the memory or some things that felt kind of false. And it just eats away at you.
I can't even begin to imagine the discomfort it would be. Are you okay?
I guess so. I mostly, I'm angry and I'm upset. Ross is a friend and I don't want her to go through anything like that. And Sam was already enough of a reminder, and now I think he's just the exact thing that he was reminding me of.
For the record, and I don't think this is necessarily... I'm not the best. You know this. This is why we haven't. I cannot make things better, and I will probably say some of the wrong things. But I can see that it hurts and it affects you, and I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's all I need. It's good to have some understanding.
Rivari will probably have a better understanding now of you. Which I wish she didn't, and I wish you didn't, but it is something that you can both take solace in, is knowing you're not alone.
Both went through the same fucked up stuff.
I mean, it's always different. It always is, but I just hope that there is some comfort you can take in that. And this won't help at all, but for the record, I have never liked Sam. And the second I give even an ounce of, okay, maybe he will be all right. Clearly Rivari cares for him. We will have this fun. We will have this gentle, let them explore what they need to. And then we find out this.
I know, I was like, all right, maybe they'll have some cute thing going on, I guess. But then he's just this total asshole. Yeah, I think I probably should have stuck with the initial assumptions.
I don't know what to even say to Rivari.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
know.
what to tell. I guess in the same way I don't know what would help you, so if I know this is an ask and I shouldn't be asking things of you, but if I do misstep, if there's anything that I am saying and it feels wrong and it's hurting you more, please let me know. I want to help you through this, and I'm learning too.
That's very nice to hear. Thank you, I think. I don't think I'd judge anyone for not knowing how to deal with this kind of stuff. If I knew how to deal with it, then it wouldn't be such a problem now. But I think support is appreciated. I think that's what I most wanted just after it happened. So I guess that's what we're gonna have to think about with Rivari.
I'm sorry it took me so long to be able to help.
That's sometimes the world gets in the way. No, I appreciate all the help you've given. And that you keep giving.
Well, you help me every day, so. Though I think I've found something that finally there's something that neither of us are very helpful to each other with, which is I don't think either of us would stop the other from being assholes to Sam.
That's true. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Because I
I'd
know if
probably
you
cheer
went
you
in there and
on.
punched him, I would just find it delightful. Like, that's not... Not even a question.
I mean, likewise, when you were telling off that noble at that party before, that was very cool. I was cheering you on there.
Yes. So it's very cathartic. I understand now why you had like such a pure hatred for them when we met.
Oh,
Like I got it then, but I didn't. No.
oh, believe me, I still hate them. I just gotta put up with them more.
Yes.
And I mean, Bertie ain't a noble, but the monstrosity that he's built. I mean, I won't go into the visuals of it all, but I'm sure like the constant bombardment of like florals and sweet aromas from this tacky pink building, and that must get to you.
I actually
That's pure noble excess.
Well, you know, our Bertie, he doesn't do things in half.
No, that's true.
But he added a lot of textures for me, you know? Like some of the mossing on the floor, and like there's things that aren't even noticeable that he's put up to warn of things I might bump into, or to give me more direction on harder mornings.
That is true, yeah. He has been kind of more considerate lately. Despite all of his extravagances and eccentricities. I'm glad that he's been treating you well while you've been staying here.
He's a very good friend.
It's probably about now that you hear a knocking.
Knocking?
Oh, knocking.
Who is- Oh, you hear
Bertie would be making
footsteps
like a lot of
approaching.
noise. Like, yeah,
Yes.
he would be making like a lot of noise. He's not trying to be quiet. And possibly if he heard heard like Rook and Onion talking, with his passive perception, he would then start to be as noisy as possible, which is just probably just like accidentally kicking over a pot plant every now and then. Hey, ladies, are you out there? It's just Bertie coming over.
Hi, Bertie.
Oh, hey.
Are you okay if he comes over?
Yeah. Hey, Bertie, how's Ross doing?
Hi, cool. Bertie like kind of peeks his head out from behind like a bush. He's like, I'm not sure. Okay, that makes it sound worse. She got the information. She then got really icy, turned to Sam and said, "Thank you for the mission update," or something like that. And then ran off to her room. Don't worry. Newman did think that maybe we should leave her alone. And I was like, no, actually, maybe just check in on her quick, because some people like that. And so hopefully things are going okay. So she's being checked up on. Caius is keeping an eye on Sam, possibly talking to him, maybe eviscerating him at this point. Who knows? Delightful. So I thought I'd come out, check in on you guys. If you want to come in, there are ways around where you don't have to go through the parlors. So if you just want to go and not talk to Sam, that's cool. If you do want to go and talk to Sam or check in on Russ, then you can do that. Cool. Also, apologies again for keeping secrets from both of you. It's a really shitty thing. I hope you understand why Ross did it and why I did it. Yeah. Cool.
It wasn't fair of Sam to ask you to keep that secret.
No.
Are you okay? Because that's a lot. And you deserved rest more than any of us, Bertie, and you only got 2 months.
So, Bo doesn't look very chipper. I think you can probably hear, I guess. He kind of like has been steeping his fingers, and he kind of like just scratch, like doesn't like scratch his wrist or anything, but kind of like his hand posture kind of like tenses, and kind of like the sort of like pass over both where the scar is on one arm and where the tattoos are on the other one, and he kind of like sets his jaw a bit from what Rook can see, I guess. He's like, yeah, no, it was shit, actually. But it affected Ross more. And to my credit, I know it doesn't make things perfect, but basically I had to weigh up between, well, okay, quick brief thing. I got a message from Sam after we found out all that information. He told me about the brain thing, and then told me that, as I said, if any of the information got out, it could put Ross in danger, and me in danger, but like mainly Ross. And so for me, I basically had to spend some time tossing up between what I should do. Because if I found out what the spell was, dispelled it, got rid of it, and he was telling the truth, Ross would be in danger. And the alternative was, of course, if he was lying, keeping something secret, that would put that through. Cool. That might have also put us in danger, but either way, I hope it makes sense. I know it's been something I thought about a lot the whole time. Yes, pretty much the whole time. Couldn't rest. Isn't that fun? Oh boy, I need a drink. Oh my god, I can't. Okay, yes, I'm all right. But thank you for asking.
Oh man, what a manipulative little bastard. Why did he tell you?
I think he likes having the power of pawn.
I don't know.
I don't like that's presumptive. I don't know if he's necessarily evil, but it's the thing about poison. You sit in it long enough, it seeps into the skin.
Bertie looks quite uncomfortable with that, but he kind of like nods and he's like, I don't know, honestly. Because I think it's more, well, that last part is probably right. Some shit stuff going on. I think also, well, it's probably obvious now, I do think Sam does care for Ross very much. I think he's in love with her, and I don't want to talk much about that, but I do think Ross cares about him very much as well. Obviously, if they made out. Ha ha ha! God, that seems awkward now! But I guess if he was worried about her, if they did talk about it, they agreed to do that, then he would do whatever, because being in love makes you do stupid things. But either way, it was a bad thing. A bad call. So hopefully Newman's chatting okay. I'm pretty sure Kai's can take care of him no matter what they're talking about. Yeah. Did you two want to come inside, or did you want to chill out for a bit more? This has been a big night.
Yeah. I guess I'll head back in.
Yeah, there's ways around too, so you don't have to. You can go and get some more, get some food or something. I had some tarts, but they kind of like disappeared. I made a whole bunch. There's like 5 left. It's really weird. But yeah, no, yeah, cool. Nice outfit, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I hope it's not an imposition. But I needed a change from my regular mole outfit.
Bertie's looking very carefully at the lovingly embroidered little C at the back of her neck. You're like, no, it's fine. No, it's cool. Very cool. Yeah. Also, this is really awkward because of all the bad shit that's been happening. But, Rook, you're all good to stay here tonight if you want to as well. I know. Well, I don't really know what your situation is, but like, yeah. I've got bedrooms and stuff. Lots of them.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see how the whole group goes.
Yeah,
I can go
no.
back to my apartment, but a room could also be appreciated.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'll lead you guys around sideways if you want. And we can go get something to eat first, or you like, or we can go check in and see what Newman's doing. Yeah, cool. Right this way, ladies. Ha 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 ha.
All right.
Sorry, just as they're going, Anya does send a message to Bertie, and the message at this point, she's not so much running out of magic, but she is running out of the stamina that she would have for her magic. So it's almost a little bit staticky and wavery when it comes through to Bertie. But she's like, thank you for doing your best. It was enough, and you did good.
Anya can't tell this, but Bertie tears up.
Okay.
And then kind of bustles on. And then, but he will also message her back and say, thank you. Thank you for understanding.
Anya, like, she nods, but just really subtly, and then they follow Bertie inside.
So, Caius, still in the parlor with Sam.
So Caius, as soon as everyone kind of disperses, he immediately takes his hand off the hilt of his blade, almost sort of relaxes into like a bouncy kind of atmosphere, and is just going to sit on one of the couches slightly closer to him and say, so it was it's nice weather at the moment, isn't it?
Sam, whose head has been in his hands for the last little bit, looks up with you and just gives you the most bewildered look. Like, I yes.
I mean, it does get a little cold over night times, but other than that, the sun is quite good when you can get it, I guess.
It is, I guess, here. It's we have quite a bit of sun in Karas.
That must be very nice.
Not as nice as you would think.
Oh well, I'm sure this would be a welcome change then. Look, I'm not very good at making friends either. Up until recently, I didn't have many at all. But I mean, now I have this lot, and I know it can be tough keeping friends sometimes, and sometimes you've got to make sacrifices to help them. We fought once together before, didn't we, during the Zath fight?
Yes. Yes.
Wasn't a particularly long fight, but it was enough. I'll admit I wasn't really showing it very much during that fight because I did get express orders, which definitely help. But normally in a fight, I'm not very clever. I don't think very hard about things before I do them. And if I find an easy solution to a complicated problem, then I'll just solve it. That was poorly said. Here, let me give you an example. The complicated problem I had a little while ago was there was some queen in a faraway land that was being manipulated by some bald guy. It was a very difficult political atmosphere. Really, the definition of a complicated problem. Easy solution, I killed him. Complicated problem number 2, there was a god that appeared outside Durham a little while ago. Found an easy solution, killed him. Now, I've got a question for you, Sam, if you don't mind. Are you a complicated problem?
This is me laughing. This isn't Sam laughing. I hope not.
Well, that's very good. I'm very direct in solving complicated problems, and I would very much hate for you to become one. I know that, well, I mean, I probably don't need to say it, but a few of us here, for whatever reason, don't really trust you. I can't imagine why. It's probably got something to do with the whole, well, I mean, you're working for the bald men, for one. You sort of oodle around in people's heads. That's not, well, it doesn't sit well with a lot of us, unfortunately. Some of us have experience in that. None of it good. So, I just want to make sure that you're aware that we probably won't stand for that anymore. Anything that you've done in the past, I'm sure if you believe you were doing it what you thought was best for Ross, or at least what was best for the mission. I understand that. But no, I will also do what is best for Ross and what is best for the mission. Anyway, would you like some tea?
It's strange. When I was trusted by the wizards, I had access to certain knowledge, among it their records on yourself and Ross and Rook and Bertie and Anya, and their thoughts and strategies on you. You're a much more thoughtful man than I was led to believe by them.
Well, I don't try to be.
I think I'll have that tea if you're offering.
Caius will go over and make a cup of tea for Sam and a second one for himself.
All right. Meanwhile, Ross, where did you go off to?
She went to her room at Bertie's house. So, yeah, she would have run up whatever directions Bertie gave. She followed them almost intuitively. As I said, everyone would have heard a door slam. She then would have gotten changed into just a random set of pajamas she keeps at Bertie's place, so probably just something very comfy and loose and green. And she has since been pacing circles around the room with just She doesn't carry around her juggling balls anymore, and she especially wouldn't with the ball gown, but she had coins on her. She's just got a coin and she's just flipping it and catching it and flipping it and catching it and flipping it and catching it and flipping it to her other hand and doing the same thing. And just pacing around her room doing that.
It's probably not too long before Newman arrives. How would you make your presence known, Newman?
Well, he would, because I believe Bertie did specifically say it was the bedroom. So he would have gone there, and he probably would have just knocked. But immediately after knocking, a piece of paper would have been shoved underneath the door in a way where it sort of like travels quite a bit from the door, and then very awkwardly a sort of pencil like struggles to find its way underneath the door, and then itself flicks across the room, probably in a completely other direction than the piece of paper, but he's aiming for it to land on the piece of paper. Yeah. Does Ross go to the piece of paper?
Yeah, she does, but she's still like one-handed flipping the coin.
The piece of paper has a little smiley face cat emoji saying, "Hello, it's Newman." And then it has a waving hand. And then it's got, "Are you okay?" with two boxes, two check boxes, one saying yes and one saying no.
She flips the coin to her other hand. She picks up the pencil, ticks yes, and then slides the paper under the door. But instead, very quickly uses the pencil to put her hair up in a giant messy bun. Sorry, Jake.
No, you're all good. I'm just, Newman's sort of like waiting for the pencil. Because he had something else in mind.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You might, okay, so after maybe around about like 20 seconds, which for Newman felt like 20 minutes of waiting, he's just going to like scurry around through his belongings, and he ends up finding an ink pen and some ink. And he's going to take, it does take a little while, but he makes it very known that he's there drawing. It's very loud, very, very loud. It does take a while, but then he puts the piece of paper back underneath the door, and it's mainly drawing, but there's a little bit of writing above the drawing. It says, "We are all here for you if you want to chat about it." And then it's got a very poorly drawn band of party members with very big heads and very big smiley faces. And then it says, "Do you want to talk about it now?"
She looks at that. She picks it up. And Newman would probably wait like 10 seconds pass, which for Newman must feel like an hour.
Yes.
And then she says, "You can come in, Newman."
So from Newman's side of the door, if anyone had been looking, he is like eagerly waiting with his hands at the bottom of the door, ready to catch the piece of paper as it comes back. And then he hears that. And then from Ross's side of the door, Ross hears a, oh yeah, I'll come in. Yeah, coming in. And he opens the door and awkwardly sort of like brushes himself off because he was on the floor. And he goes, "Have you seen that pencil? I sort of stole it from Bertie. I sort of want to put it back. I think I've stolen enough from Bertie's today."
Sorry, I thought it looked familiar. And she pulls it out of her hair, which just goes cascading back down her back, and she gives it back to Newman.
No, you can keep it if you want.
No, it's fine.
Oh. Okay. Letting it go wild, I see.
Yeah.
It's a good look.
Thank you.
It definitely looks a lot better than how I drew it there, but yeah.
I think your artistic skills are far above mine. Those arts and crafts Sundays are really helping you out, huh?
Oh, it absolutely is. I have learned so much.
Good. Sorry, I can stop. She stops flipping the coin and just kind of awkwardly swings her hands at her side.
You can do it if you want. You'll also notice that whole time that Newman wasn't distracted by it either.
Thank you. She goes back to flipping it and starts pacing around the room again. She's like, you can sit down if you want.
Yeah, sure. He looks around the room for something to sit on.
Probably just the bed.
Yeah. He sits on the bed. And he takes out a book. He fixes some invisible glasses on his face that aren't actually there. And he says, "So, tell me how you really feel." As he gets the ink pen and gets ready to write in this book. As a joke.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
I'm sorry, it doesn't look it.
I know it doesn't. I'm trying to lie to myself too. But I should be fine because it means a lot that all of you went to bat for me about Sam doing that, even though I consented. But that's an option that's always when you're high level like he is, like I am, you have to be prepared for that kind of stuff. Modifying memories, it's actually a really common thing with a spy. I put it off for a long time, but I can do it too.
I was just about to ask.
I wouldn't. And she stops tossing the coin for a second. I wouldn't do it on any of you, but it's so stupid. I thought we'd have to keep his cover a lot longer, and if I got captured by the Wizards of the Ruins, I didn't want there to be a chance that his cover would get blown on top of everything else. Or Drakkar, or even anything any of you had said, I was prepared to modify my own memory to keep you all safe.
So you were more likely to use it on yourself rather than those around you.
But that... Because, it does, as we have seen, as clearly happens, it gets complicated when someone consents to something they can no longer remember consenting to. It's difficult. But it's fine. It should be fine. This is something I should have been prepared for, and I wasn't. That's my fault, because once again, I continue to be bad at the job I've spent 20 years learning how to do. So that's fine.
I don't think this job is something that you can be good at. And I don't think this job is something you can prepare yourself for. This job throws literally anything and everything at you. And it's just something you got to take as it comes. But sometimes you can't take it. And that's fine. And this is in no way as serious as what's going down now. But past Newman does lots of dumb shit when it comes to his tinkering. He'll be very lazy and he'll say, "This is a future Newman problem." And then we'll continue doing other things to the work. That big one that I've been working on for a while now, that has taken me so much longer because of a simple 10-second decision I made at the very start of the project, thinking it'll be fine, it'll come good in the end, yada yada. It took me an extra 2 weeks for that 10-second decision that I could have fixed in a minute. I feel like where I'm trying to go with this is that was probably what you told yourself, was that future you would deal with it when you gave the consent, and future you could probably handle it, and that's probably why you're feeling the way you are now. But past you didn't know how much of an effect it would have on you, on your future self. And
Well.
I think you just gotta sort of just let it happen, let the feelings flow.
Well, see, the issue, Newman, is that past Ross made a lot of very stupid decisions, ranging all the way back from age 6, and future Ross now has to deal with all of them. And I don't. And I thought this was the one thing I took this year to. I never wanted to join the Concord. That wasn't my choice. That was my parents keeping me safe. I never wanted to learn how to fight. That was the Concord trying to keep me safe, and I rejected it, and I ran away. And I never wanted to be lonely, and I met Sam, and he made it less lonely, and he kept me safe. And then I came back, and I keep my friends safe, and I try to keep you all safe. And Sam comes back, and I am trying to keep him safe. And past me decides that the best way to keep him safe is to do this, and doesn't even consider that maybe, just maybe at some point I'll stop being a fucking coward, and something will happen, and suddenly something has happened, and now I don't even know if he cares about me or if he just cares about the fucking mission! And she throws the coin as hard as she can at the wall, and it just probably pings off it and hits carpet so it doesn't go any further, but she just watches it bounce, and she just stands there for a second.
All of Newman's hairs are on end right now. Every single one. He is like Puffy Newman, but without the without the water and the drying.
Sorry.
No, you were doing exactly what I asked you to do.
No, I'm sorry.
This is feelings flowing. He gets up laughing and goes to hug you. Putting
Ross
distance between you and the projectile that you just launched across the roof.
Ross just dissolves into tears. She just starts sobbing. She's like, I'm sorry, I'm getting your suit all wet. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It's this material is actually really easy to dry. It's no problem.
I know, but
Stop it! You're gonna make me cry.
I wish I wasn't crying, but I'm fucking crying like a useless little baby.
Just between you and me, I've tested this myself. The safest place to have a cry is in your own bedroom. And I feel like, of all the places you could cry and just let it out, it's here with a friend, with a roomie. And you are keeping everyone safe. You've never not kept anyone safe. It seems to be all you think about as well. And I didn't know all that stuff that happened that I just heard. You not wanting to be a part of the Concord and all that, but it sucks. It really does. It really sucks to hear that. And I just hope you're okay. I don't really have any words to comfort you with that. But 6-year-old Ross or young Ross, they may not have had a choice in all these matters, but right now you have choices about who you stick with, who you befriend, who you share these details with, and I feel like you've been making really, really good decisions and really mature decisions recently. And I don't think that's anything you should feel bad of. Anything you should feel bad about. You should be proud of the person you are today. And I know for a fact so many people look up to you. And I see how some of the people closest to you idolize you as well. All of my new roomies, they respect you so much. And that's half because you look after them. And the other half is just because you're an amazing person. And everyone in this party, as weird as this dynamic I've created has become, as you saw, shut Sam down for the absolute... I don't even know how to put it. It makes sense. It's not okay what happened. But they were there to defend you because they care about you. And that's due to the fact of all the stuff that you've done for us, the way you treat us, and the amazing things you've done. You have a solid family now, and you don't have to deal with any of this alone.
But what? She pulls back and like rubs at her face. She's like, but I thought I was making the right decision when I told him to modify my memory, and he thought he was making the right decision to do it. And it hurt him too. Newman, I've made decisions thinking they were good because I thought they were kind and I thought they were right. But he and I are the same. We've been doing this too long. I don't know how to care for people without potentially hurting them. I know things about you all that I shouldn't. Because I thought knowing was caring. And he has done things, terrible things, even when he was good. Because we have to. And I love this family so much, but what if, when all is said and done, and I can finally be Rivari again, it turns out I've been chasing a dead woman and using her name because Rivari wouldn't be me. I'm sorry.
It's all good. These decisions you've been making, you don't know what the other outcome could have been. You don't know if there was simply one other outcome. All I know is that we're all here, and whilst things look kind of bleak at the moment, up until this point, things have been looking amazing. And whilst I guess it might not have been ideal, we don't know if that other outcome would have been 10 times as bad. It could have been better. But I think what you two did make sense. Whether it was the right decision or not, I'm not sure. But I know that we're here safe and together. It might have been because of that decision. And you will always be Rivari. And this is literally a job. I feel like if this is getting too much for you, put yourself before your job. Especially because you said you were forced into this as well. Are you sure you want to keep on doing this?
I can't live my life knowing that there's something I could have done for Karas, and knowing that I didn't. I'd rather die knowing I tried. And I don't deserve you.
Everyone deserves Newman.
She just kind of buries her head in his chest.
And on that note, I think we're going to leave it there for this episode. Thank you for listening, folks.
See you next week, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
so-
you, everyone.
See
Goodbye.
you all later.
Bye.
Sorry for listening.
Oh,
How funny that I
Christ.
said put yourself before work, and that's the opposite of what I do.
I know. I was thinking that. I was like, wow, the personal growth. Yes. Is
my
everyone
God.
okay? How's everyone
Yes,
doing?
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
I'm good.
yeah.
I'm good.